Mark was the only child of his parents. His parents worked in another state and could only visit him for 2 days each month. As a result, he lived alone at home. It was 11:30 at night. Mark was studying at the table when a call from his friend came. His friend was having a birthday party and was telling Mark to come to the birthday party. Mark said, okay, and then started driving his car to his friend's birthday party. The road was completely empty. There was not a single person or vehicle in sight. The road was eerily silent and deserted. After some time, Mark arrived at his friend's birthday party. He spent some time enjoying the celebration and having fun with his friends. Later, Mark decided to leave for home. By then, it was around 2 o'clock at night. When Mark was passing through the desolate path, just then, Mark sees an old woman on the road ahead of his car. He slams on the brakes and honks the horn. Mark got a bit scared. Then, as he toggled his car's light on off, the old woman suddenly vanished, and Mark quickly drove the car forward. Then Mark arrives home. Mark gets out of the car, goes inside the house. He is very tired, so he quickly goes to sleep. It is 9 o'clock in the morning, and Mark wakes up. He sits on the bed for a while, reflecting on what he saw that today night. He feels a little nervous. Then Mark takes a bath, has breakfast, and gets ready for college. After making sure everything is fine, he leaves the house and starts heading to college. It gets dark by the time Mark returns from college, and then Mark cooks dinner. Mark is eating dinner when after a while, the lights in the house start turning on and off. Then the lights go out. Mark sees this and becomes a little scared. Mark starts looking around. Then the old woman from that day comes up behind Mark and slowly places her hand on Mark's shoulder. As soon as Mark looks behind, he screams in fear. Mark hides under the table and the old woman stands in front of him. From beneath the table, Mark starts to see the old woman's feet. Then the old woman starts addressing Mark, who is under the table, asking, "Mark, how are you?" Hearing this, Mark gets scared. Then the lights turn back on, and Mark looks all around. Old woman has already disappeared. After that, Mark comes out from under the table and goes to his room. Then Mark falls asleep, and a sound of something shattering is heard from the kitchen. Hearing the noise, Mark becomes very frightened. Then Mark gets out of bed and goes to check the kitchen. He calls out, "Who is it?" Then the old woman comes up behind Mark and says, "I am here." After seeing the old woman, Mark fainted and fell to the ground. He remained unconscious throughout the night. When Mark slowly opened his eyes, it was already morning. Rays of sunlight were shining from the open door. Realizing that the terrifying night was finally over, Mark felt a sense of relief. Then, Mark takes a quick shower and quickly gets dressed. Then, Mark gets a call from his mom and dad. Mark tells them about what happened the previous night. But his mom and dad don't believe what he says. They tell him, "We're coming in 2 days. Until then, go out and enjoy yourself with your friends." Mark gets angry after hearing this. He hangs up the phone and sits down quietly, thinking about everything that just happened. Mark couldn't sleep well the previous night. He was feeling very tired and exhausted, so he lay down on the bed to get some rest. Within a few minutes, he slowly fell asleep. Then, Mark starts having dreams about the old woman. In his dreams, the old woman terrifies him. Frightened, Mark suddenly wakes up from his sleep. Mark gets very scared. Then he realizes it was just a dream. Mark feels relieved and gets out of bed. He walks to the kitchen and drinks a glass of water. Then Mark goes to the living room, turns on the TV, and watches a good movie. It helps him relax and forget about the scary dream for a while. Mark feels extremely sleepy, and as he continues watching TV, his eyes slowly begin to close. Within a few moments, he falls asleep right there in front of the television. After 2 hours, Mark wakes up from his sleep. He then turns off the TV and looks outside for a few moments, quietly observing the surroundings. Just then, Mark finds a cricket bat. Picking up the bat, Mark thinks, "If I see that old woman again at night, I will hit her with this bat." Then Mark hides the bat under the bed in his room. At around 11:45 p.m., Mark sat on his bed and began waiting for the old woman to appear. As time passed, he started feeling a little sleepy. Just then, Mark suddenly heard the sound of a glass falling somewhere in the house. Then Mark takes the cricket bat out from under the bed. This time, Mark is not scared at all. He thinks, "If I see the old woman again, I'll hit her with this bat." Then, as Mark turns around, the old woman suddenly comes through the room's door. Without being scared, Mark swings the bat and hits the old woman on the forehead. Then the old woman suddenly disappears. After that, Mark feels a great sense of relief and finally feels at peace. From that day on, Mark never saw the old woman again. And this story ends here. If you want to watch more horror stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.